Welcome to WEFM's 3 p.m. news. I am your presenter, Jessica Klein. First, on the local scene. The homicide count for 2022 in St. Vincent and the Grenadines now stand at 36, following the death of two persons shot on November 5th in the community of Redemption Sharps. According to reports, one man died on the spot and another died at the Milton Cato Memorial Hospital. According to a Redemption Shop's resident, three gunmen exited a car before firing a barrage of shots in the direction of a group of men. The intended target of the gunmen was a young man by the name of Jeroy J.J. Phillips. Phillips is said to have run into someone's yard to escape, but with the property effectively fenced, he was cornered and killed. Another man, Lorenzo Sean Dichong, sustained gunshot injuries during the shooting and was rushed to the Milton Cato Memorial Hospital, where reports state he succumbed to his injuries. St. Vincent Electricity Services Limited, VINLEC, and the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines have sought to ease the burden to customers caused by the rising cost of fuel globally. These measures included injecting funds to lower the fuel surcharge rate from 0.7252 per kilowatts to 0.6579 per kilowatts in June 2022, followed by an increase in the value-added tax threshold from the 150 kilowatts to 250 kilowatts for domestic consumers. Under the most recent Petro-Caribe arrangement, fuel is being supplied to the Lomans Bay Power Station at a discounted rate. The Lomans Bay plant accounts for approximately 55 to 60% of the fuel used to generate electricity in the country. The first shipment of fuel under this arrangement arrived in St. Vincent and the Grenadines on October 22, 2022. The full impact of the cheaper fuel will be reflected in January 2023 bill, as the company continues to use fuel from a previous stock to generate electricity. The savings, as a consequence of the Petro-Caribe arrangement, will be reflected in the fuel surcharge calculations and will result in a projected reduction of approximately 10 cents based on present market rates for fuels. Still on the local scene, Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves stated that he had obtained a portion of the finances needed for the refurbishment of the Windward bus station, known as Little Tokyo. Gonsalves said that during his visit to Venezuela, he made a presentation to the Ministerial Council of the Alba Bank in order to secure US $2.5 million, or 50% of the US $5 million needed for renovations. In October, Finance Minister Camilo Gonsalves projected that Little Tokyo Bus Terminal would undergo renovations in 2023. Gonsalves remarked that many of these venues have deteriorated and transformed into rum shops throughout the years. Due to the fact that store owners have been paying their rent, you have lacked the funds necessary to modernize and maintain some of the properties. We will expand the space, improve the traffic flow, the management of vendors, the allocation of stores, and every store at the bus station, Gonsalves remarked. Little Tokyo is the only spot where we encourage drinking and driving because you all have drivers and they all stop at a rum shop. In the region, Jamaica's chairman of the People's National Party's PNP, Region 5, Kern Spencer, is calling on Prime Minister Andrew Holness to address the nation about the recent deaths of 12 babies during a bacterial outbreak over a 4-month period at Victoria Jubilee Hospital, VJH. The opposition has been calling for the resignation of Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton following reports that 12 neonates died in a recent outbreak of Klebsiella pneumonia infections at VGH, Jamaica's only all-maternity hospital. In a statement in the House of Representatives last Tuesday, Dr. Tufton said he learned of the bacterial outbreak at the end of August and said that the situation was eventually brought under control. Spencer has warned that the protest by the opposition will continue unless there is a satisfactory move by the government. If we don't get that address, we will be taken to the streets on Monday. The people of St. Elizabeth will be at another health institution echoing their voices, said Spencer. Shamika Ellis, who is secretary of the PNP's Manchester Patriots, said she lost her baby to the Klebsiella pneumonia infection 4 years ago. These dead babies and these parents who are going through the grief, there is no sympathy for us, and I am talking as a mother who experienced it. I gave birth to twins and I lost one, and I was told, at least you have another one. My baby caught this virus, and if it wasn't for the grace of God, she wouldn't have been 4 years old today, Ellis added. More in the region. The United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has declared that as a climate change summit, COP27, gets underway in Egypt, the planet is sending a distress signal. Guterres made the remarks in a message on the launch of the World Meteorological Organization (WMO) Provisional State of the Global Climate. Released on Sunday, the report shows that the last 8 years have been the warmest on record, fueled by ever-rising greenhouse gas concentrations. He noted that every heat wave had become more intense and life-threatening, especially for vulnerable populations because the last 8 years have been the warmest on record. The UN chief observed that sea levels are rising at twice the speed of the 1990s, posing an existential threat to low-lying island states and threatening billions of people in coastal regions. He also noted that glacier melts records are melting away, jeopardizing water security for entire continents. People and communities everywhere must be protected from the immediate and ever-growing risk of the climate emergency. That is why we are pushing so hard for universal early warning systems within 5 years, Guterres disclosed. And on the international scene, meetings between the Ethiopian army chief and the commander of the rebel Tigray People Liberation Front, TPLF, has begun in the Kenyan capital of Nairobi. Discussions will focus on the disarmament of the rebel forces following the peace deal signed in Pretoria last week. The talks began today and were led by the African Union's envoy of the Horn of Africa, former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo, and former Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta. The meeting, which has been scheduled for 3 days, will discuss modalities of disarming rebel forces and provide a roadmap for humanitarian access and restoration of services in the Tigray region. According to the peace, disarmament should be completed 2 weeks after the meeting of the senior commanders, and the 2-year conflict has claimed many lives and displaced millions. This has been WEFM's 3 p.m. news. I have been your presenter, Jessica Klein. Join us again at 5:30 for WEFM's evening news, and we thank you for listening.
That could have been you. An accident that could have been avoided because your tires had almost no grip on the road.